Dallas has just been on a tear. I believe we can attribute that to Jason Robertson. Also, Jake Ottinger, who's really stepped in.
Yeah, so we can compare a rookie QB to a toddler. Hayward's absence for this game will be significant, and I wouldn't be surprised if this game turns into a blowout as of late.
The Golden Knights just can't pull it. I really think the Avalanche are determined this year.
They made so many moves and grabbed so many guys that they have to win a championship or at least make the finals. They were on our championship and bust.
The same self, the only year he won an MVP was the year he cheated, which really should put something against that MVP. But
Yeah, and as a Cowboys fan, I have learned how dangerously good Aaron Rodgers has been with he can just thread a pass.
Hello, I am Ruby Ackerman, and you are listening to Outsider's Opinion with Kevin and Austin.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to our NFL Opinions of the Week. We talked about storylines. Not sure if you've heard that yet. If you haven't, make sure to check it out and be on the lookout for it. That's why you check out our socials. But here's the man with the phone in hand and the marker for his board, Austin.
Yep, I can't wait. The draft is always something that I love predicting, mainly because you could just be so horribly wrong. This is one that it's really easy to get maybe the first couple picks, but after that, it gets really, really difficult. And I always, I still remember that one year, Kevin, where we may have gotten like 2 or 3 right each, and it was not good.
Yeah. I remember that. I also remember, like, I got one trade right, and I somehow got, like, a pick in the 20s right, and that was Gregory Rousseau to the Buffalo Bills.
I remember my only pick I got right one year. I got fully right, like 100% right, like because the trades happened. Was Kyer Elam, who went in like 26th or 27th to the Bills, but that was the only pick I got right, like fully right. Like I got some players right here and there, but they were traded. Like, I'm pretty sure I got Justin Fields right, but I didn't have him going to the Bears or something like that. I had a trade or something, so I can't wait. But let's start on this draft position ranking. So this isn't this year. This is in general. What positions are you drafting for? You have a new team, or your team relatively sucks at everything. Who are you drafting first? I'm pretty sure we can get this first one out of the way relatively easy. It has to be QB, right?
Yes, QB. All right. Yeah, I was a little bit nervous. Yeah, it's QB, and this is one I want to make sure I'm right. That's another thing I took in. If I'm swinging for my quarterback, I want to make sure I get this one correct. And it's the most important player on the field because he touches the ball the most. And then you just need to find ways to surround him. So I can go into my second.
That works. That's fine.
Mine's O-line.
I agree. I have O-line as well at number 2. You need to protect that quarterback. And that this is really weird because if you look at some teams, not every team obviously agrees with us because if the Bengals agree with us, Jamar Chase may not be a Bengal. And that's still an issue that they're trying to fix up now, and they will have the chance to do it furthermore in the draft. But O-line is definitely extremely important, and it's hard to see how good a QB really is if he doesn't have an O-line to protect him.
Yeah, and the Bengals are just an exemption because they played great with the Jamar Chase pick. But yeah, O-line really sets the pace for running the ball, which is also helpful to a young quarterback in having a second option where you're not just relying on their arm. So I'll let you say the 3.
My 3 is D-line. You can't actualize a O-line deficiency in another team without having a good D-line. If another team has a bad O-line, but you have a bad D-line, their bad O-line doesn't matter. They cancel each other out, and you can't allow that to happen against a great team like the Bengals. You have to have a good D-line to counter their bad O-line.
Yeah, I agree with you. I have D-line as well. It's as long as it's the main thing is pressure. Can you pressure the guy, and can you stop pressure? Build the trenches so you have a strong line. Key thing is pressure. If you can give your quarterback more time and you can take a second away from the other quarterback, huge key thing. We've mentioned O-line, but D-line for the San Francisco 49ers is just a fantastic piece. And like that's a lot of them are first round picks. And if you hit on those first round picks, which they have, you have a tremendous defense and they can cover up deficiencies in the secondary.
Yeah, and I think if we were going to do some sort of tiers here, one QB's by itself, but I could see D line being ahead of O line. But
Oh yeah,
trenches, they matter, and so the 2 and 3, I don't think are. You can't put either of these at 4, in my opinion. But 2 and
yeah.
3, if you're really big on defense, you can go D line first. I'm totally okay with you going D line, even if you have nothing on your team. I'm totally okay with you going D line before O line because both are extremely integral. But who's your number 4?
My number 4, it's defense as well. It's defensive back.
Okay, so here's where we differ
Okay.
first. Mine's wide receiver. And in the
All right.
scheme of my team is empty. All positions suck. First round or first pick, I went QB. And then I traded up and got 2 second-round picks, and both of those guys were O-line and then D-line. My third-round pick, it's a wide receiver. And I'm trying to get a high-stakes wide receiver, a receiver that I think can help the QB. Maybe he played with them in college. You're not always going to be able to do that in the first round. But if you get a guy like, hey, this guy's fallen down some, but he has some experience with the QB, or he knows the system well, I think wide receiver is more important. What's your case for secondary?
So here's what's secondary. I want to build my defense. I've built my O-line for my strength, and I'm going to trust in my quarterback. I'll get him the help in the second, but I want to. Where you want to get it?
No, you go. I'm just saying
Okay.
I want to.
Okay, gotcha. But I want to build my defense strong. I want to attack. Pressure to me is more important, but I also think, especially now, I want some good secondary help. So I can. I want a strong defense, so I don't have to put too much pressure on my quarterback, especially if he's recently drafted. I'm just a key person in. One of my key beliefs is defense wins. If you have a great defense, it's going to be really hard to lose some games.
I agree to an extent, and here's the example I'll give you. What happens if no wide receivers get open? Does your own line being good matter? Nope. Eventually, I don't care how good your own line is. I don't care if they're rushing 3. Eventually, it'll get there. Eventually, and that's kind of the problem you run into if you're. Let's say I'm not saying it is. I'm just if it is. If your next pick, like you go all defense, you go D line, secondary, linebacker. Well, again, eventually, you're going to have nothing for your QB. It's worse off. Yes, your QB has a good O-line, but it doesn't matter because 10 seconds in, eventually, let's say you're the best O-line in the league, but if every wide receiver is just on lock, getting guarded up perfectly, your QB is still taking hits or he has to throw the ball away. So that's why I think wide receiver is more important than secondary, because if you have good wide receiver, at least one that they have to double team, one of your other wide receivers will get open because they have to play man for the rest.
Yeah, that's fair. And I did check my pick because I have wide receiver next.
Okay, I have secondary next. So
yeah, it's a flip-flop. But yeah, wide receiver is important.
I would argue that wide receiver, it's not like D-line, O-line, in my opinion, because wide receiver, you have to, at least one of your wide receivers has to be open, or your O-line being good does not matter, because he's still going to allow sacks. If your QB holds onto the ball for 10 seconds, your O-line isn't made of gods. Like, eventually they're going to mess up, and you just want to give them the most time possible. You're not trying to hold on forever. That's not an O-line's job. Not to hold on forever, but give me 4 seconds. Give me 4 seconds to find the right read. That's all I need. But if it's 6 seconds, 7 seconds, like, something's going to happen eventually. Best O-line in the league will still give up sacks if there's no wide receivers.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I'm going to rely. I want to build up my strength defense first, and then I may have to make moves elsewhere to upgrade that wide receiver position. But now we can go into you have defensive back. So what's the next position?
I have linebacker, and this is mainly because I truly believe in the middle linebacker's importance of him reading a defense. We see that with Fred Warner or prime Bobby Wagner, prime Luke Kuechly. The middle linebacker can be your best player on defense, and you can be totally fine. I would have linebacker up higher, but it's really comes down to how good. And if I'm taking, like, I have to draft all these players in one draft. We have 9 positions on here that we had to rank. So if I have 9 picks and I have to pick one with each, linebacker has to be down pretty far unless there's a Bobby Wagner, Luke Kuechly up there. And then I would take a linebacker easily in the first round above D-line because your linebacker can be your quarterback for your defense, but you have to find the right one or it's not worth as much. This is linebacker, I feel like, has the highest highs and the lowest lows of any position on defense.
Yeah, I agree. I also have linebacker here, so we agree again. Yeah, for the main things, I've mentioned defensive line built. I'm built against the pass, against the pass, and like I have defensive tackle for the run game, but I also need that guy on the second level or in that middle level. Yeah, linebackers on the second level to stop that run and to also read the defense and do well in pass coverage. But I want a good linebacker. And
I argue that linebacker is the most important position on the field for defense. But if you're building it up, you need 4 guys for D line.
Mhm.
Now you only have 1 middle linebacker, maybe 2 if you're running a 3-4. But if you're running a 4-3, you have 1 middle linebacker, 2 outside linebackers. So you need 4 defensive linemen. And not everybody's Fred Warner. Not everybody's Luke Kuechly. I know this isn't a middle linebacker, but he's a linebacker. Micah Parsons. Not everybody's Micah Parsons. So you got to find, if there is Micah Parsons right there, take him, obviously. He's going to be your best player on defense. Fred Warner is going to be the best player on your defense. Luke Kuechly is going to be the best player on your defense. But there's not many of those guys in the league. Like if we're looking currently, Bobby Wagner's fallen off. There's not many great linebackers in the league, especially great middle linebackers that can also guard the pass.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Yeah, and I agree. I just had I want to have everything set, but linebacker is a key position because you can tell when a team doesn't have a great linebacker or even a good linebacker. They just lack that great defensive ability. Like the Niners have a great D line, have an average secondary, but they have great linebackers, and they had a better secondary last year, but Fred Warner made them and upgraded their defense and elevated them.
Yeah, 100%. I think we can go on to 7. Who do you have?
I have tight end. I'm putting another passing weapon for my team, and I'm going to try to get a tight end. In the later rounds, it could be tough, maybe an undrafted free agent, but I want to. When I'm thinking of this, I'm like, I want to solve my quarterback problem. I want to solve my O-line problem, D-line problem, so and so. And so before I get to the other positions, I want to solve my tight end problem. I'm looking for more of a receiving option, but I could also get a guy blocking.
Yeah, I went running back here. I knew I was going to have running back higher than you, even though we have it pretty low. But running back matters, and you got to have one. You got to draft one if you have nothing. If you have nothing, you have to draft one because it is so important. You talk about your tight end can be undrafted. That's true. But it's really, really, really rare to get a great or serviceable running back as a rookie undrafted. Not many people are Austin Eckler. That's
fair.
A hot commodity. And running back, I think, is a position you have to take because of their job. They get the ball a lot. Even if you don't have to pay them all that much, you still have to get the ball to a running back a lot during your game.
Yeah, I think that's fair. That's why running back's right next to me, but I have O-line so high that I think my O-line, if they can run block really well.
But you talk about a tight end and you can get a blocking tight end. Why do you need a blocking tight end if you have a good O-line?
Well, yeah. So I said I'm aiming more for receiving tight end as another weapon.
That's the thing. How many good receiving tight ends are there? Extremely few.
Same thing. You could say the same thing for extremely well blocking tight ends.
That's kind of my point. Is that running backs, I feel like, are a better commodity when you get into those later rounds. And then tight end, you got to pick, hey, is he going to be a good passing or blocking tight end? But you can do that undrafted. Tight end is a very low drafted position if he isn't spectacular at one of those 2 jobs.
Yeah, that's fair. But yeah, I view it more as like my O-line can set it. But yeah, I do understand why you have running back higher than me. I'm putting a lot more emphasis on the O-line for the run game. And then if I get a great running back, then it'll elevate my run game. But running back to me, if my O-line can cover some of the deficiencies from the running back. However, if it's a running back that fumbles the ball, it's not going to do well for me.
Yeah, and you have tight ends who can't catch it all. So it's
Yeah.
really, are they a tight end or just an extended O lineman? But we can move on to the last one. This is obviously special teams. This doesn't mean special teams doesn't matter. It can win or lose you playoff games. As a Packers fan, I know that. But it really is, unless they are utterly spectacular, it's very hard for me to see anyone wasting a draft pick on them.
Yeah, I agree. Like maybe in the 7th round, but yeah, you can get an undrafted guy, or you can figure something out.
Unless you see the next Justin Tucker or the next great punter, it's really hard for me to consent to say, hey, let's draft this guy. Let's use a draft pick on him.
Yeah, and if we were gonna draft this, I would do kicker first over punter, because kicker to me is kicking well. And if I have a better offense, I'm not really, but I understand. One of them had to be last, and I would have put punter last.
I think I would have put punter over kicker because there's
Okay.
so many free agent kickers that if
Okay.
you can find a great, I would argue that a good punter is better than a good kicker. A bad punter is better than a bad kicker, but a great kicker is better than a great punter. So I would say great punter
Great
over great
kicker better than great
yes,
punter.
great kicker is better than great punter, but a good punter is better than a good kicker, and a good or a bad punter is better than a bad kicker. So I think that, especially if you're going to draft, good, I would take punter. Bad, I'd take punter. Great, Justin Tucker. Yeah, you got to go kicker. But I would argue of the 2 to the 3 categories they could be in, or I guess you could say middle as well, I also take punter. Anything below great, I'm taking punter over kicker until you get into that upper echelon, top 5 kickers. And then I'm like, yeah, he's going to make every kick. He's going to win you games. But punters can win you games too.
Yeah, it's true. They do help with the field position. I was just thinking, I want my offense rolling, and I'm going to feel bad if I'm putting my punter out there. But yeah, so this is a good exercise. It's very interesting. I kind of viewed it like it'd be tough to solve all these issues in the one draft, but this is something I want to fix in 1 or 2 years of the draft / free agency.
Yeah, these aren't, while we are saying like this is a draft where if you had nothing, where would you go with? But it's definitely hard to do that in all in one draft. So it's just ranking your priorities and trying to fix your problems.
Yeah, and based on needs, it could change. So, but it is something we could see with a lot of rebuilding teams, and it just depends on draft position. But that's all we got. Let us know. We're gearing up for the draft. Mock draft season is here, and that's all we got. Make sure to check out our Instagram and OO_podcast20 and OO_podcast Twitter for live updates on our recording and being posted. And that's all we got. Thank you for listening to Outsiders Opinions.